Hey everyone, I'm Mariana, and this video is going to be the second half of my April wrap-up. I already talked about all of the books that I read in April in my other video. I will link that down below so you can check it out if you haven't seen it yet. And then today I'm going to be talking about all of the shows and movies that I watched in April. I'm going to be going through my Letterboxd because you guys liked how I did that in my previous kind of wrap-up video. So let's get into this, and I'm going to start with the TV shows. The first TV show that I finished in April was Big Little Lies. There was only one episode in April, but I still thought I would mention it in case you haven't watched it yet. You definitely need to check it out. It's about these women who live in this rich community in Monterey Bay, and somebody gets murdered. We don't know who, we don't know who murdered them, so we're kind of building up to the murder throughout the whole show. It has a wonderful cast: Reese Witherspoon, Nicole Kidman, Shailene Woodley, I'm forgetting somebody else, but it has these wonderful actresses, and it kind of combines the mystery aspect with a little bit of a soapy drama aspect, and somehow this works wonderfully. So definitely check out Big Little Lies if you haven't seen it. It's on HBO. I also ended up binge watching two Netflix shows. One of them is 13 Reasons Why. You may have heard of this one. It's been creating a bit of a controversy. It's about this girl who commits suicide, but before committing suicide, she leaves 13 tapes to people who contributed to this unfortunate decision that she made. So it's about that. As you can imagine, it got a lot of people upset because they do portray certain things in a problematic way, and there is a very graphic depiction of a suicide, but it is a really good show in other aspects. It's definitely something you get into and you just want to keep watching because you want to know what's on the next tape and what happened afterwards, because there are some instances of kind of good things happening to this girl, and you just want to know why wasn't that enough to save her life. It's hard to say that it was something I enjoyed because it does deal with a few difficult and dark topics. However, it was something that I kept watching, and I binged it in a day and a half, I think. So if you are interested in a show like that, I would definitely recommend it. The other Netflix show I ended up watching was Girl Boss, and that one is loosely based on a portion of Sophia Amoruso's life. She is the woman who started an online clothing shop, Nasty Gal, and I really did not like this show. It did not work for me at all. This one seems to be a bit of a love it or hate it thing for people, but personally I did not enjoy it. I thought the writing just wasn't that great, and when the writing isn't great, that kind of kills the story for me. I thought the characters weren't written very well. I thought some of the dialogue was a bit ridiculous, and not all of the acting was all that good either. So there were some enjoyable and interesting parts of the show, but overall I would not recommend it. I also finally started watching Legion, which is a show a lot of you recommended to me, and I am definitely enjoying it. I'm sure most of you know this is a show based on a Marvel character, so there are superpowers involved, but it is slightly different. It's a little bit weirder, a little bit darker so far. I'm not done with it, but I am definitely enjoying it, and Dan Stevens is great in it, so I can't wait to finish it and give you more of my thoughts on that. And also, obviously, you guys know this already, I started watching American Gods, which premiered on April 30th, so only one episode came out in April, but it still counts, and I am doing weekly episode recaps for that, so that's actually going to be my next video. But if you missed my recap of the first episode, I will of course link that in the info box below. Moving on to movies, I'm going to be going through my Letterboxd, and if you don't follow me on there, I think you should, because I post updates on there all the time. I log everything I watch, so I'm Impression Blend on there just like I am everywhere else on social media. And the first movie that I watched in April was The Zookeeper's Wife, which I ended up giving 3 out of 5 to. I thought it was a somewhat enjoyable film, mostly because the story itself is really interesting. And the acting was actually pretty good, aside from Jessica Chastain's accent, which was really bugging me. It was obviously fake, and she was kind of in and out of it the whole film. But more importantly, they really didn't do that great of a job telling this amazing story. So was kind of an okay film for me, but it got me interested to find out more about what happened there. It's set during World War II in a Nazi-occupied Poland, and I definitely think the story deserved a better movie. Next film that I watched was War Dogs, and as you can see, I gave it 2.5 out of 5. Wasn't really my cup of tea. I just don't think it's a great film. It's not funny enough to be a comedy. It's not dramatic enough to be a drama. It's not an action film either. It's just kind of okay, and there's nothing really that stands out about it, and I think you should just watch Lord of War instead, because it's kind of on the same topic, but it has better writing, better acting, it has more to say, and it's generally on all fronts a better film. Very underrated. I'm a big fan of this movie. Then I decided to check out Where to Invade Next. This is the Michael Moore documentary where he goes to all these different countries and tries to find good things about them that we should implement in America. I thought it had some interesting ideas and it had some interesting information. Some of it is ignoring some facts that change the perspective a little bit. So definitely do your research. Don't just take Michael Moore's word for it. It was interesting and enjoyable. I liked it, but it's definitely not a well-rounded documentary and it doesn't present any realistic solutions. Michael Moore just really wants you to think that everything is simple, which even the people in the documentary tell you that it's not. Then I watched The Discovery, which was a Netflix release. It is starring Jason Segel and Rooney Mara, and I thought it was a pretty interesting film. The premise of the thing is that there is definite proof that there is life after death. We don't know what exactly this after death experience is, but there's definitely something there. And kind of the way the world deals with it is that there are a lot of suicides because people are just like, well, screw this, can't be worse than my life, so I'm going to whatever's next. And it kind of explores all of that. But in reality, aside from the interesting premise, it is very, very slow. So because I like weird discussions like that, I ended up giving it 3.5 out of 5 stars, but I can see how some people may think this movie is insanely boring. So if you're interested in the topic, I think you'd like it. Otherwise, I don't know, this will be for you. Then I obviously got tired of watching movies that were some level of disappointing to me, so I rewatched one of my favorite films of all time, Inglourious Basterds. This movie just gets better every time I see it. I will never get enough of this movie. After that, I watched Central Intelligence, which was an okay comedy, surprisingly. I've seen a lot of really disappointing comedies lately, so to watch something that maybe wasn't great but still made me laugh a few times was refreshing. I ended up giving it 3 out of 5 stars. It's nothing groundbreaking, but it's a good movie if you just want to relax and maybe laugh a few times. Then I watched Demolition, starring Jake Gyllenhaal, who pretty much carried this whole film. It ended up being an okay movie because Jake Gyllenhaal can only do so much. It started off as a pretty interesting exploration of grief, but really didn't go anywhere new or anywhere at all with it. I thought it could have been really good, but it just kind of got lost and didn't really offer anything that fascinating. So I thought it was alright, 3 out of 5 stars. Also gave 3 out of 5 stars to The Age of Adeline, which was actually better than I thought it would be. I thought it was going to be terrible, and I just started watching it because I saw it on Hulu and I was like, whatever, I'll give it a try. It's the movie starring Blake Lively where she stops aging, and Harrison Ford is also in it because he used to know her when she was young, except for he's old now and she's still young. Anyways, this movie is a pretty decent melodrama and it's shot really well. It's a really pretty movie. So if you're into that kind of thing, I think you'd enjoy it. It has a lot of cliches in it and you definitely know how it's going to end and you can predict almost every major event in the movie, but you know, it's decent. It's decent if you're into that genre. Then I once again got tired of watching okay movies, so I decided to rewatch Slumdog Millionaire, which I actually haven't seen since I saw it in theaters, and I have to say say it holds up really, really well. It's still fun, it's still interesting, it's still entertaining, it still gets you in the feels when it needs to, and if anything, I probably appreciate Danny Boyle more now than I used to back when I first saw it. So if you haven't seen it in a while, I highly recommend giving it another try. And speaking of giving something another try, I decided to watch A Single Man, which is the Tom Ford movie, his first film that a lot of people really enjoyed, and they also enjoyed Nocturnal Animals, which I thought was alright, and obviously from my 3 out of 5 rating, you can tell that I also thought A Single Man was alright. I just don't think his style is for me. I see it as pretentious and style over substance, but not in a Nicholas Winding Refn style over substance way, because I actually like his films except for Only God Forgives and Valhalla Rising, but I feel like his visuals add to the story and make it better, and I just get what he's doing. When it comes to Tom Ford, it just doesn't work for me. I don't know what else to say. Then I went on a bit of a horror film binge, and the first one that I watched was The Black Coat's Daughter, starring Emma Roberts and Lucy Boynton from Sing Street. It was a very moody and atmospheric horror film that doesn't really spoon feed you the answers and the story, but it's not confusing. At least I didn't find it confusing. I was figuring out what it was doing along the way. It was a little bit too slow. It's slow burning and it's mostly good, but a little bit too slow. And some things in it just happen because things happen to move the plot along. Then I watched The Void, and that movie didn't really do much for me. It has a very strong 80s body horror vibe, so if you're into that, you may enjoy this. It also has amazing visual effects, a lot of beautiful practical effects, beautiful from the horror perspective, of course, some very interesting creature design, so it's worth watching for the visuals. But when it came to storytelling, there were a lot of horror cliches in there, and the characters themselves weren't that good. They had potential, but they just didn't have much depth to them, so you didn't really feel for them all that much. And plus, it just didn't know how to end. I swear the filmmakers did not know how to wrap this one up, because it was just weird and I didn't really enjoy it except for the visuals. After that, however, I watched The Devil's Candy, and that was great in my opinion. I really enjoyed that movie. I have a review on my channel, so I'm not going to talk about it now. Check it out, and if you enjoy horror, I think this one is definitely one to watch. Then I rewatched Oldboy, the original Oldboy, not the remake, and this is one of my favorite films of all time. Man, that movie is great. If you haven't seen Oldboy, you need to get on that. Then I decided to turn to a classic and watch Alfred Hitchcock's To Catch a Thief, starring Cary Grant and Grace Kelly. This was kind of weird for me because it's not the Alfred Hitchcock you expect. This is the light version of Hitchcock, and even though I did enjoy it, I just thought it was a little bit lackluster for what I wanted from this film. It's not as intriguing or as suspenseful or as filled with tension as you would think. I've never seen this movie before, so I kind of had some expectations for it, which I apparently shouldn't have. But I think it's still enjoyable, and that classic Hollywood cinema is always just fun to watch. Then I rewatched another one of my favorite movies, and that was As Good as It Gets. In my opinion, one of the best films of the 90s. It's a wonderful comedy. Jack Nicholson is very angry and very mean in that movie, and that's always entertaining to watch. But it has a lot of heart, even though he says some really horrible things, and it has a really beautiful story arc, in my opinion. After that, I decided to check out Casting JonBenet, and here's the issue with this. I think people who are familiar with the JonBenet Ramsey case and who were around in the US in the 90s and remember all of that would find this very interesting, because the way this documentary is done is very unusual, and it kind of assumes that you already know the basics of what happened. However, I was not in the US in the 90s, so this whole thing was entirely new to me. I have never heard of this. So it was a little bit confusing for me, and I had to pause and actually look up what happened and then go back to the documentary, because the documentary has these people who are being cast for a reenactment, and they are being interviewed and they say what they think, and they also reveal things about their own lives, and it's all very unusual as far as documentaries go. It's definitely interesting, and I thought the idea was just great. However, for me, as somebody who is not familiar with the case, this was just a little bit too confusing, and so I didn't really enjoy it as much as I would have if I knew what was going on. So I ended up giving it 3.5 out of 5 stars, but please know that if you know what's going on in this situation, then you will probably enjoy it way more than I did. And the last movie that I saw in April was Sunshine, which is a Danny Boyle sci-fi kind of horror film. It's starring Cillian Murphy, Rose Byrne, and Chris Evans, and it's actually really, really good. I was surprised by how much I liked it, which I shouldn't have been, because for the most part, I'm a fan of Danny Boyle's work. But in this movie, they essentially live in this future where the sun is dying and our planet is kind of getting really, really cold, so they need to go out in space and fix that situation. And then a lot of really weird stuff happens, which is where the movie kind of loses its train of thought. The last act of this film is very strange, and there are so many theories on the internet about what actually happened in that last act. It still worked for me, even though it was very strange and kind of confusing. It's not that I didn't understand what was going on screen, but there are just questions that aren't really answered. But regardless, I really enjoyed it. I thought the performances were great. I thought the idea was interesting, so I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Would definitely watch again and maybe figure out what actually happened at the end of this movie. Obviously, as you can tell, this was kind of an okay movie month for me. If you take out all of the favorite movie rewatches, you'll be left with a lot of 3 out of 5 ratings. So The Devil's Candy and Sunshine are definitely the only 2 films that really stood out to me in April. So that's it for this movie and TV wrap up. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. As always, I would love some recommendations, because as you can see, I'm always looking for new movies to watch, and I'm not always finding really good ones, but I hope May is going to be a better movie month for me. I will try to get these out earlier in June, somewhere around the 1st or the 2nd, because I really don't like that it's already almost a week into May and I'm still posting my wrap up. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I hope you're having an awesome day, and I will see you tomorrow with my American Gods episode recap. Bye!